So one of the things I've continually said is the Financial Times, probably one of the best sources for news, facts and figures on Brexit when it comes to it. And here's a very good piece in it today. So, by the end, hardly anyone in the Soviet ruling class believed in communism. People mouthed slogans like dictatorship of the proletariat, knowing that it was all nonsense. These days, Vladimir Putin's Russia has its own two-faced ruling class, writes Peter Paulson in his, I think that's how you say it, in his 2014 book, Nothing is True and Everything is Possible. Television producers pumped out propaganda, then switch on opposition radio after work. Orthodox oligarchs sing hymns to Russian religious conservatism, then keep their money and families in London. These people have a public self and a private one. The Promzevsky family, I think that's how you say it, finally fled the falsehoods for London, where you don't have to split yourself up into little bits, where words mean things. Now, he may now regret moving. Brexit has created a two-faced ruling class, and very few British politicians, civil servants, business leaders, or even many Brexit cheerleading journalists believe the official state ideology of Brexit. They just mouth the slogans, and the populist policy of Brexit has made the populist claim come true. Britain's elite lies, and this will worsen after Brexit. It wasn't so bad at first. After the Brits voted for Brexit in 2016, many establishment Remainers thought, well, it's what the people want, and they may be right. I'll try and make it work. The elite, at that point, had lost confidence in its own instincts. Why not pursue global trade deals, cut immigration and fund the NHS instead of Brussels? People like Theresa May did their best to love Big Brother. But after 21 months of attempting Brexit, many have just given up. May never says she would vote for Brexit now. Asked recently if Brexit was worth it, she waffled. Signalling her out is unfair. Most senior Conservative and Labour politicians are biting their tongues. To make things worse, most also can't admit they oppose their own party leaders. Only a few powerless rebels such as Anne Salisbury and I think it's like Chucky Ubina, I think that's how you say it, are free to live the truth. And even many Brexiteers believe their own ideology in theory, but not in detail. Brexit hasn't unfolded as they expected. When Daniel Hannan said during the referendum campaign that obviously Brexit Britain would stay in the single market, and Michael Gove that it would quote hold all the cards in negotiations, they probably believed it. Now they are stuck, and these people aren't naive. They are the educated elite merely masquerading as anti-expert populists. I suspect they quite believe that the Treasury's assessment that the global trade will not replace the loss of the European trade. Caught between fantasy and reality, Brexiteers have become tempted to deceive. In December, Brexit Minister David Davis suggested a freshly agreed divorce deal with the EU wasn't legally enforceable, and that the recent European trust already strained daily by Boris Johnson, the old saying, an Englishman's word is his bond, is becoming hilarious. Meanwhile, I've yet to meet a civil servant who admits believing in the biggest project of their careers. One diplomat told me years ago that one thing they could ever get him to resign from public service was Brexit. Today, he is helping to drive it. It used to be said that British diplomats were sent to lie abroad for their country. Now they lie for the Conservative Party unity. Many business leaders fear that a hard Brexit will damage their companies, but keep quiet to avoid upsetting ministers or consumers. Paul Drescher, president of the Confederation of British Industry, recently implored them. Tell your story. The real risk is to say nothing and reap the blame for later for our silence now. In the media, the BBC curtails the instincts of its mostly Remainer journalists. A colleague at one big Brexit supporting newspaper told me that 95% of its journalists oppose Brexit. Another friend puts the figure in his pro-Brexit newspaper at 80 to 90%. He tries to switch his mind off Brexit. At least the Remainers like me believe the stuff we write, pointless as it is. If Brexit ever happens and British officials start tracing trade deals, the disassembling will get worse. We'll then most likely be courting autocrats such as the Gulf states, China, Russia. Trade isn't their priority, but like other British assets, the light touch regulation, the City of London, meaning the laundry for all their dirty money, the British gentleman fantasy, starting with a place at boarding school, Britain's ruling party, the wife of one of Putin's former ministers, paid the Tories $160,000 to play a tennis match with Johnson and Cameron, as well as the Cambridge Analytica, and many foreign outfits want to meddle. And the media, the UK's loud global voice, is worth buying. For universities, the loss of European research grants and autocrat donors stand ready. Oxford already has the Blankovic School of Government, funded by the Ukraine-born tycoon who is Britain's richest man and a Trump donor, and Gulf money finances Islamic studies at several universities. Foreigners have learned that the UK is for sale. Britain's ruling class hasn't prepared the population for the pain of Brexit, notes Alan Fallison of the University of East Anglia. Any hardship will further dent trust in the government. The backlash could be either extreme nationalist or extreme left, while the ruling class whines, but we never believe the silly idea to start with. And that is the daft situation where we are once again in. You have people not believing and have bought their own ideology, but they daren't actually say what they think the truth is. And that is the biggest comedy in today's Brexit Britain.